Yeah, absolutely. So shadow work is the parts of yourselves that we put into boxes and then we put them up into the closet of our minds and we throw them in the back and we like to pretend like they don't ever exist and they just kind of collect dust. But at the same time, they are fully influencing how we are making our subconscious decisions and how we are living our life. Even though they're not consciously at the front of our brain, they are back there and they are running the shots, more times than not. And so the biggest thing with shadow work, it's being able to reframe, like I said, it's not what needs to be fixed in yourself, because that is a very black and white thinking. It's the duality, it's the gray space of like what needs the healing, what needs to be held and loved, what maybe has been rejected by, parents in our past, friends, society, and that, it's like the parts of your inner child that are just want to just be seen and acknowledged and heard.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsay Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey, First Class family. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show. My name is Lindsay Vertner, mindset expert and professional speaker, and I am your host of this phenomenal show that's all about you high achieving leader. I know you're out there just attempting to crush your goals, and you are crushing your goals. And if not, that's okay, because we're only human, but that's why we're here to support each other. I know that you are out there looking to maximize your impact while create your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And because you are here with us now, we truly, truly appreciate you, and we're going to drop all the gems. So make sure you get your pen, your paper, whatever you use to take your notes so that you can collect those gems, okay? And make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, do all the things, because sharing is caring. And we like that internet currency is when you leave us some good feedback in the comments or you share it on your social media. Be sure to tag both of us now, because we like to engage in the conversation. Speaking of conversation, you know how we like to roll. We like to just hop right in there, okay? So welcome to the First Class Live Studios. We have Bri Garnica with us today. Hey, Bri.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you doing today?
I am good. So you are now officially part of the First Class family, okay? That's me, that's you, that's everybody that's tuned in right now. We're the healthy, fun kind of family, all right? Not the toxic, negative one. So please tell us, give us some background on who is Bri Garnica, just period. Give us the juicy details. Let us in, girl. We're sipping our tea. We got our popcorn. Who are you really?
Oh my gosh, no, I love that question. So, I honestly, at the end of the day, I'm a creative community connector and healer. It's been such a journey, figuring out and who I am and who my authentic self is. Mm-hmm. And the more times that I lean into my creative self, whether that's being a visual artist or, I have a very large theater background. And I just always grew up wanting to express a lot of feelings, a lot of just that human experience. And I always resonated so well with other artists and other people who I just felt also just got it. They understood the highs of life and the lows. They've seen both of that, and they were able to still find a lot of joy and compassion and just really just see the beauty in life. So I would say, I'm an artist. I'm a bridge. I'm a bridge in a lot of different ways. In college, I studied arts administration, which is the bridge between the artistic world and the business world, and being able to create those connections and help the two find balance within each other. I'm also mixed, so I have been a bridge between my white family and my Latino family as well, which is a very unique position to be in. Very much so. And then I've just always also been, a bridge for people, very much like with the artists, just being very in tune with that, feeling emotions, very intuitive, almost people would say little woo world, while also being a bridge to the very practical world of, I have had corporate American jobs, I've been in sales, I've been in nonprofit fundraising, marketing strategies. So I have always been able to navigate being in these two spaces and figuring out how to bring them together. So that's a little bit about me in a very, very broad sense. I'm also I'm a manifesting generator. So I am a very multi-passionate human being. I'm constantly working on at least 3 projects at once. And growing up while in school, I was always told that was very flaky of me. I needed to pick just one, and that wasn't necessarily something that was encouraged. As I've grown older, I've realized that's actually just very much my superpower. And I've been able to lean into that. So I have, full time, I work in talent development. And then I have a side business where I'm an energy coach, and I'm also a visual artist as well. And I also have a really intense hobby of loving to cook. So that's hiking enthusiast as well. I love going outdoors and being able to hike in the mountains and things like that. So I don't know, I'm a little bit of everything.
We see. Now, one thing that definitely stood out to me as you were sharing about yourself is that, we all go through tough challenges throughout our lives. And I know oftentimes when we're leaders and when we have titles or positions, or we're just in the forefront of doing whatever it is that we're doing, sometimes people can assume that, oh, you never have anything happen to you, or, if you show up with a positive, optimistic attitude, oh, you're always like that. You don't have bad days. And it's like, no, we're only human. Everybody goes through things, no matter who you are. But what makes the difference between person 1 and person 2 is how you show up through those things, how you overcome those things, like how you shift your perspective and your mindset about those things. So I know that you started to deal with some challenges, some pretty heavy duty challenges early on in your life. Can you tell us about that first one?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first major challenge in having this human experience was losing my mom when I was 9. And that was very hard on me simply because my mom was the person who really encouraged me to be in tune with my intuitive self. She would take me to get energy work done. We would go to the crystal shop together. She would have me be with her whenever we're playing with, different like oracle cards and angel numbers and things like that. And so being so used to that world, and then having my main, my best friend and my main advocate for that, leave me so early and losing my mom, it was very hard. It was also hard because I've always had this very unique connection with death in general. So when my mom passed, I knew that my mom had passed and I knew she had moved on. That was very apparent to me. But what I don't think the other adults in the room necessarily understood was that while I understood the concept of death, what I didn't understand was like the logistics of like, how do I, as a daughter without a mom, how do I navigate the world? Like, what do I do on Mother's Day? Who's going to take me to school? How am I going to, who's going to play, with me, with my tea parties? Like my dad, I love my dad. He was so very, very, he did so much for me, and we really had each other those days. My dad was very much a CPA. He was a very logistical man. And so he saw the world in a very different way. And it was a little bit challenging for me to adjust. And then I would go to school and I would see all these kids, and they were, as they should, they were being kids. They were loving life. They were, doing what kids would do. And it was very hard for me to figure out, why would I do my 4th grade math homework when everything could be gone tomorrow? Why would I do this? It was very difficult to go out and just play with that carefree nature when I had my first experience of what, mortality, what that was like. And so it made it very hard for me to fit in with other kids, because they would want to talk about, the newest cartoon thing. And I was just like, what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? What happens when you move on? And things like that. And none of the other kids wanted to talk about that. They thought that was really strange, which is fair. So that was, but at the same time, that has changed, that has given me such a unique gift in being able to really appreciate and be in the now and see the beauty of not just the world, but also like the relationships that I'm in, and like the friendships and the people that come into my life. I feel like I have always strived to not take anyone for granted, especially the good times. And that's also just been prevalent as I've gotten older. You know, I had a really great friend group at the beginning of high school, and while they didn't quite understand what I meant by it, I knew that it was not going to last, that we were going to grow up, we're going to grow apart, we're going to go to college, things could happen. And so I would always really be present in the moment and just try to soak up as much joy from it as possible, because I knew there was a very good chance that, you know, it wasn't going to always be this way. And I've kind of taken that philosophy in, you know, any interaction that I have. And so I love meeting new people. I love getting to know about them. I love whenever those like beautiful, like juicy, magical moments of community can happen, because it's so intense and it can be so rare. And unless we're very intentional about seeking that kind of healing out, a lot of people, I don't know, I feel like there's this sense of being able to heal through community that has been kind of lost on our society, on our culture. So yeah, so that was one of my first experiences.
Yeah, and a tough experience, I'm sure. At that, I couldn't imagine losing my mom at such a young age. And so there were two things that stood out to me as you were speaking through that. One, what were some ways that you began to either kind of mask the pain that you were experiencing? And then what were the ways that you started to heal and move forward? And we know grieving is a lifelong journey, right? It's more so learning how we navigate the world with this missing piece of it. You don't necessarily heal like a scar that falls off and goes away and you forget about 10 years down the line. It's something that is ongoing. So what did that look like for you? Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life, because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Yeah, it was definitely very tricky when I was younger, simply because I wouldn't say I necessarily had a lot of positive role models on managing grief. I definitely went to a therapist, which was awesome. But like when I was in school and in my day to day, it was very much the other kids didn't want to talk about it. My teachers didn't really know how to talk about it either. It was very much this thing that people wanted to say, like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, and then kind of move on. And I was kind of also expected to do that because that was like the polite thing, to not make them feel awkward. So then almost the fact that my mom died became like my problem that I had to manage with myself. And that did lead to severe depression and anxiety. And that has honestly been something that I have worked through and have been managing for most of my life. But also at the same time, I've really been able to kind of shift how I view that. And, I don't necessarily see it as having depression and anxiety. It's simply that I'm very sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive person, and I know I've experienced intense grief. And so like, it takes time for those things to be healed. And it's also just something that's part of me that doesn't need to be fixed, or I don't need to put in a box, and I don't need to hide it away. It's something that, it can be celebrated, even though it has this like interesting bittersweetness to it. Because at the same time, it feels so intense because I loved my mom so, so much. So I masked it a lot by honestly just a lot of depression, a lot of trying to make things perfect and trying to be the perfect daughter and the perfect student. And I really wasn't able to, feel at that level until I probably got out of college. And I realized that like all these people that I was trying to be perfect for were no longer so immediately in my life. Like I wasn't seeing teachers every day. I wasn't living with my parents. I really got to this point where I was living my life for myself. And I realized that I was really, really not happy. I did not like how the medications that I was on, I did not like how they were treating my body. I did not like the side effects. I started to feel very numbed out to everything, including the good stuff. And so I started to kind of look at, I went to like behavioral therapy, and I also started looking at mindset work and really being introduced to this idea of, shadow work and being able to integrate your shadow into your whole self and letting it be that duality with your light instead of just wanting to be your highest, best self all the time, and anything slightly dense is bad and we have to get rid of it or hide it or pretend like it's not there. And it was the moment where I really got to be able to start looking at my healing journey as not something that needed to be fixed, but just something that needed to be brought to light, that needed healing, compassion, love. The more I loved that part of myself, the more beauty I was able to experience in life, the more full I was able to experience my relationships. And honestly, the more grounded and in alignment I was to go and had more clarity to go after what I actually really wanted and what was important for me. So.
Now, I noticed you mentioned shadow work. Explain to those that are tuned in right now that might not know what that is, like define what shadow work is for everybody tuned in.
Yeah, absolutely. So shadow work is the parts of yourselves that we put into boxes, and then we put them up into the closet of our minds, and we throw them in the back, and we like to pretend like they don't ever exist, and they just kind of collect dust. But at the same time, they are fully influencing how we are making our subconscious decisions and how we are living our life. Even though they're not consciously at the front of our brain, they are back there, and they are running the shots more times than not. And so the biggest thing with shadow work, it's being able to reframe. Like I said, it's not what needs to be fixed in yourself, because that is a very black and white thinking. It's the duality, it's the gray space of like what needs the healing, what needs to be held and loved, what maybe has been rejected by, parents in our past, friends, society, and that, it's like the parts of your inner child that are just want to just be seen and acknowledged and heard. And one thing that I always work, especially with my clients, I always work with the phrasing. It's never necessarily like low frequency or like baggage. It's never like bad negative energy. I always like to phrase it as it's just dense. It's just very dense, intense energy, and that dense energy needs to be transmuted. And it needs to be alchemized. And you do that through doing the work, being able to sit with yourself, hold yourself, love yourself, the self-care, the journaling, meditations, all of that, and being able to bring that to light. That's what transmutes it. And when you transmute it, then all of that space, that dense energy was like taking up, it then begins to be opened up for something else. And that something else can be a new job. It can be a new relationship. It can be, that next thing to kind of like come in, like the next level of your human experience. You get to level up, but you can't do that necessarily until you're able to look at the dense energy that you're currently holding on to and realize what can be released, what needs to be integrated into my whole self. And what am I carrying that's also just like not mine, that I picked up from like other people?
That's definitely an important one, because we don't realize how much other people's baggage starts to weigh us down, and how other people's baggage we start to put into our own baggage. And really, it all just needs to be left on the curb for the trash to pick up. So what would you say are some top tips or suggestions, some ways that we can start to face our shadows?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the biggest ways that has really helped me has been journaling. And journaling not with the intention of like, let me write down everything that's happening in my day. Let me write this so it's like perfect. So if anybody else was to read it, they would have a very, accurate account of my life. Like being able to journal simply to like brain dump and channel. So what you do is you get out your paper and you set your timer to like 6-8 minutes, something like that. It doesn't have to be very long. And you just write every single thought that comes to mind. And if one thought interrupts another, that's fine. You keep going with it. And what that can do is it starts to like switch your brain from the conscious, like, oh, I'm writing things down. And you start to be able to slip into the subconscious. And then things are going to start coming up that you didn't even know were issues or thoughts or fears or anxieties that you were carrying. Those just kind of start showing up because they want to be seen. That's the thing about shadow work is once you kind of create the space, and you can do this through meditation, being able to settle yourself in your body, settle yourself in your mind, and being able to tell your subconscious that it is safe to see these fears. It is safe for the shadow to come up, and that it's not going to be met with, rejection or judgment or anything like that. It's going to be met with curiosity and love. Once that groundwork has been set, then the shadow work's going to come up all by itself. And it's going to be super excited to be seen. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, hi, I'm here. You want to talk to me? Oh my God, let's talk. It's going to be so excited to do that. And that's the biggest thing I love to be able to tell my clients is it's a shift in mindset from going from judgmental to like, well, why am I like this? Like, I need to be better than that. And being able to shift into curiosity of like, well, why am I like this? Why am I like this? Where does that come from? Where did that start? Is that even mine? What was the first moment I felt that? And the more questions you can ask, there's this fun routine called like the 5 whys, where you can ask yourself why 5 times and you really get down to the root of where this actually comes from. For example, one thing for me was I noticed a habit where I would go on little spending sprees. I'd drop like $300 at TJ Maxx for like out of the blue for no reason. And things I didn't actually need. And so I sat with myself and I'm like, that's a very interesting habit that I'm observing. Where is this coming from? And like, why is this happening? And I started to notice that I would go on these spending sprees when I felt like I wasn't getting a promotion at work. There wasn't really any acknowledgement of my success. And I was seeing all my other friends like getting promoted, having great achievements, blah, blah, blah. So there was this feeling of like I wasn't producing. And so then I would go out and I would buy stuff to then bring to my home to physically show myself and my partner that like, look, I'm producing, I'm doing good. I'm bringing value to the house, even though I'm not bringing it in my job or in, maybe my social life, like I'm bringing it in this way. And I was like, okay, well, why do I feel the need to do that? Why do I feel the need to create this artificial feeling of producing and doing enough? And it was simply because, in school, you would get your A's on your test, you would get your good jobs, like on a pretty frequent basis. I would always be putting my need to be validated that I'm doing good work and that I'm being a good person. I would always need to put that in other people. And so then even going further, like, okay, well, like, where does that come from? And it's just the fact that like, from my mom leaving me, she passed away. It was constantly rooted in this need of like, I needed to perform well and be a good kid so people wouldn't leave me in my life. I even though it's not where my mom passed, that was not in my control, but still like, it was just my dad, and it made my dad's life easier when I was a good kid and I kept my room clean and I got good grades and all that stuff. So like it started from this very intrinsic need to not lose anyone else. And the best way to do that was to control by being a good kid, by being able to produce and perform. And all of that manifested into me wanting to go to TJ Maxx and spend $300 so I could show my partner that like I'm still a good partner. Like I can bring things to the table. It's fine.
Yeah. So how did you start to overcome that?
Well, honestly, the biggest part was just knowing that that's where it came from. And so then whenever I would feel the need, the itch to like go to TJ Maxx, and whenever I felt like all these things adding to my cart, I was able to stop myself and be like, is this actually something that is a need in our household, or am I trying to create that feeling of producing? Am I trying to validate myself through buying this stuff? And then a variety of different, meditation and just mindfulness and being able to strengthen my connection to listen in to my inner voice and my inner guidance. There are a lot of times where it's like, no, you're just hurting. You just want to feel affirmed and validated. And that's what you want. Like, and then I can ask myself, like, okay, do I want to do this by spending $300 at TJ Maxx, or do I want to do this by, one of my love languages, words of affirmation? So like, do I just need to write myself a letter of all of the good things that I've done, all the accomplishments that I have done right now, and remind myself that I've actually accomplished a lot of things, and just say that back to myself? Or do I need to, go for a walk instead and like sit with this feeling of like, I'm not doing enough, and see what else has to come from it? So kind of being able to come up with other options, a little bit more healthier options. It's like I said, I'm an artist, so I've been able to use my art a lot to transmute shadow and dense energies. And whenever I'm struggling with, like intense emotions, that has been huge. And sometimes I just need a paint sesh. And that helps me tremendously. So.
Yeah. So, okay. What I was thinking about as you were going through that is how depression can show up in our lives, especially as leaders, because you've mentioned several times how you had to do good and perform well. And that was your way of subconsciously, even though you had no control over it, that was your way of attempting to control if people left your life. If I show up good, then no one's going to leave me. And so oftentimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was this way with you, that depression was probably, excuse me.
No, you're good.
Harder to pick up on because you did show up and do all the good things. Because oftentimes media likes to portray depression as it means you're locked in your room, you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're not showering for 24 hours a day, you're sitting in the dark crying all day, every day. And that's what people like to think of as depression. But depression is so much deeper than that. And it looks different for everyone in how it shows up. So I feel like that it was likely overlooked in you because you were doing all the good things. And oftentimes as leaders, sometimes we can be walking around with depression and not even know it and not recognize it because we are showing up. We are doing the things. We are putting a smile on every day for all the people. We are still supporting and aiding. We are still running businesses. We are still doing all of the things. And so the depression goes on for longer without any treatment, whether that's from a doctor, whether that's from therapy, whether that's from, your own practices. And it only gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So talk to us about that. At what point did you start to recognize, or maybe somebody had to point it out in you, that you were struggling with depression? And then tell us how you started to move through that.
Hey, I know it can be exhausting, blazing the trail and creating a legacy. And you're at the point in your life where you desire peace and rest. You want to enjoy both the physical freedom and financial freedom to live life on your terms. You understand the importance of prioritizing your self-care. And you know that you're worthy of transformational experiences surrounded by other high-achieving, goal-oriented women just like you. That's why you deserve to be treated like VIP at the First Class Life Luxury Self-Care Retreat for Women. You deserve to show up and just be you. Away from the titles and roles that keep you busy from day to day. You deserve the luxury to fully unplug. It's time for you to embrace your first class life. Visit firstclassliferetreats.com to secure your VIP spot today, because you deserve it.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. That's the thing. I became this mastermind at knowing when I was going to be on, when I needed to be on. And so there were definitely the times where, it was exactly like that. I was an only child in general, but like my room became my safe haven in a sense where I could let my mask down and I could be as sad as I was. And at the same time, that was really hard because it'd be really hard for me to leave my room at some points. But whenever I would have to go to school, or as an adult, whenever I had to go to work, and at the time where I battled with this the most, I was in a sales job. And as a sales job, you are extremely extroverted and you're extremely outgoing. And I was one of the top salespeople. I was crushing my numbers. I was nailing like 10 cold call meetings a week and going on them and running them. Like I was performing at this extremely high level. And it was so difficult because like I knew like that I struggled with depression as a kid. And I knew that it was something that was there, and like along with anxiety in the job, no one talked about anything like that. Everything was awesome and great. And we're just focusing on the next goal. And I leaned so heavily into that culture because that's also like, for me, it was like, if I'm constantly moving and if I'm constantly accomplishing and I'm constantly working towards the next goal and I don't give myself a moment to rest and sit with myself alone in my room, then I don't have depression because it never comes up because I'm never sad. I just keep pushing myself to the next thing. And I did that until I had one of my very, very, very dear coworkers come up to me. And I was telling her, I was like, I feel like I'm on this breaking point. I don't feel like myself anymore. Like I was, talking about all these things. And I was like, I've seen you from the day that you showed up at this job to now. And every day you've come in, like you've shined less and less bright. You have been less and less like coming from like your authentic place. You've been pushing more. You seem burnt out. Like, I don't think this job is good for you. I don't think it's good for your mental health. I think it's actually what you want to do. I don't think this jives with you at all and your energy. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are right. I have gone so far away from who I am and being in tune with my feelings and my emotions and even my physical body. And that kind of culture and that job, there is no, I'm going to put my 2 weeks in. There was only quitting. And when you would quit, you had to do it right then and there. Because if they could tell that you were going to quit, they would find a reason to just let you go before you had anything else set up. So I went straight up to the manager that day. Like I made this decision in 45 minutes. I went straight to the manager and I was like, I have to quit right now, today, in this moment. I know I'm slated to get a promotion and I'm 2 weeks away from finishing the program that would then get me my promotion, but I'm dying inside and this is not for me. And so then I got escorted out of the building. My friend had to pack up my desk and like send it and like give it to me afterwards. Like I couldn't even go get my things, which all of that was kind of a little bit traumatic in itself. But once that all happened and I kind of got to sit with myself in my room finally for the first time, so many emotions came up. Like there was obviously this like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I just like quit my job without having a second job. And it's my first job out of college and I was doing so well at it. And like, was that actually the thing I should do? But honestly, I was able to get myself into therapy, and especially it was like behavioral based therapy. And that was so helpful in me. I gained a lot from talk therapy and just being able to have this incredible self-awareness about myself. However, I also have a tendency to intellectualize and think too much in my head. And I was like, I really needed something that like this depression, like I need to learn how to be able to manage my energy better and how to manage my depression and anxiety. And so I wanted to go to behavioral based therapy simply to like, I need to learn the habits and I need to learn the lifestyle that is going to support me and not something that I have to constantly be running from and waiting for it to catch up with me and like take me out and having like a panic attack and being out in like a week long funk where I can't even get out of bed. Like this is not sustainable. And additionally, I just did not like how the meds were making me feel either. It was always making me feel really just disconnected from my body and myself. So I was like, I need to find something that works and I need to create the habits to create a lifestyle that supports me. And then it's just honestly just been uphill from there, which has been I've just been really blessed with. So.
Yes. Kudos to you. What were some of those top tools or resources that you learned maybe in therapy that started to really help you to push through and, make that shift in your lifestyle?
Yeah, a lot of it was being able to identify when my inner critic was taking the wheel. And that was the voice that was running everything. Another one was being able to identify the concept of my inner child. And I had never heard of the concept of your inner child up until probably when I was like 23, 24. And the first time I did an inner child meditation, which was encouraged by my therapist, and I actually met with her, was so profound and so powerful. I think sometimes we forget that we were children at a time, and that child is still carried within us, and that child still has needs and wants and desires, and a lot of our personality and behavior stems from that inner child. And being able to actually acknowledge that part of ourselves and bring that part of ourselves into the conversation and into the experiences that we're having in our current day is such a different, more holistic experience of living than just pretending that we were never 5 before and we never wanted to just, like be silly and like experience joy. Like we just wanted, like we found so much happiness in such simple things. And I'm not sure why as adults we think like, oh, that's for children. Like we don't do that. I'm like, but it's fun. And your inner child would love for you to do that. And it would be such a healing experience. There's been so many experiences that I've had. For example, recently, like I went on a cruise with my parents, which is so fun. The last time I went on a cruise with my parents, I was like 15. And I was at this weird age where like I couldn't go into the kids club because I was too old. But obviously I was an adult. So all of like the 18-21 stuff like was off limits to me as well. So I kind of just sat on the boat and I was like, oh, I can't wait for the day where I can go on the Serenity deck. And I can't wait for the day where I can like go to like to the, like, the dance floor and like and have a fun looking drink. Like the drinks look so fun. So being able to go now, I was constantly inviting my inner child to come along because it's like, look, we get to be in the cool, like in this cool pool area, like that was off limits to us, and like, and we get to have the fancy drink, and we get to dance on the dance floor with the love of our life. Like, look at all these things that you like that are happening, and by being able to invite her in and experience that has been so incredibly healing. So
yes, I love that. We all have that inner child, and it's important to face them and say like, hey, what's hurting you right now? And how can the adult me help you to heal and bring you along in that process? And it really does make a difference in our day-to-day happenings and all of those things. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And so now I would like to play a little game if you're up to it.
Absolutely. I love it.
Let me get my phone here. Okay, so this game is called First Class Life Favorites, okay? And how it works, it's really simple, is that all I'm going to do is say, what is your favorite, fill in the blank, and you're going to fill in the blank.
Okay.
Easy, right?
Yeah, I love it.
But you got to get it in 10 seconds or less. So you don't have time to think through what are they going to think or anything like that.
This is a genuine connection to your intuition. Just letting it come up. Let's do it.
So, however, if you miss the buzzer, everybody gets a consequence. You, me, all the first class family that's tuned in right now. So you get to pick what consequence that is, and don't get too hung up on, oh my gosh, I can't do that, because what's positive for one might be negative for another. So it's all a matter of perspective. Like me, I don't like working out. So if you were like, okay, the consequence is you got to do 5 burpees, I'm going to be like, girl, really? Where somebody who loves working out, they might be like, that's it, easy. So think about that. It can be whatever you want. Some people will do like, oh, take a shot. And if you're not a drinker, then just accommodate, like put a shot of herbal tea or something like that. So some people do, you have to compliment somebody that you don't really like that much, genuine compliment. Or you got to take a walk for at least 10 minutes, and every time they miss the buzzer, add it on more time. So you make the consequence whatever you want it to be. So I'll give you a moment to kind of think about that.
Okay. I think I got it.
You got it?
I think I got one, yeah.
Okay, so what is our consequence if you miss the buzzer?
Okay, if I miss the buzzer, the consequence is going to be you have to tidy one space in your home.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
You have to like clean your entire room, but like you have to being able to clean up your desk, that would count as a space, or being able to organize your coffee station, or the little table at the front of when you first walk into your home, just like you have to organize one space. A bathroom counter would probably be a really good place to start as well. So.
Okay. All right. We got it. So let's go here. All right. What is your favorite? We'll start with something really easy. What is your favorite drink? We've been talking about drinks. Can't say water. Go.
Margarita.
Oh, but easy. On the rocks or frozen?
Ooh, on the rocks for sure. And you have to have like the tahini on the rim. For sure. Yes. And no sweet and sour. That's weird.
I like mine frozen. I like frozen drinks. So if I get a margarita, I like the frozen ones. What is your favorite song? Make sure you say the title and artist. Go.
Oh, Higher Love. I think is it Whitney Houston? I'm not sure. It's always the one that's like, bring me a higher love. I love that one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Okay, see? Yes, this is going to be amazing. We've been talking about our inner child a lot. What is your favorite game? Go.
Ooh, sorry. I was sorry with my mom, and she would always be the green one, and I'd want to be the blue one, and I just loved being able to knock someone's off. I felt so cool.
Get out of here. Yes, yes. What's your favorite book? Title and author. Go.
Oh, the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. It's A Court of Thorns and Roses. That has been a wonderful series for me. Once again, connecting back with my inner child, I've started reading fantasy again, and that is more of an adult fantasy version. So like inner child me gets the fun plot about like the fairies and whatnot, and adult Bri gets some spice, which she greatly enjoys, being a words of affirmation girly. So A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It's a great series. I would highly recommend.
Okay. Got it. What is your favorite? You might have one of these with a theater background and just being creative. What is your favorite joke? Go.
A joke? Oh no. I don't like jokes. I don't like comedies. Which is very Capricorn of me. I'm just a comedy person. I don't have a favorite joke. This might have to be a buzzer.
Yeah, you missed the buzzer. What's a funny story that you can think of? Just in general, something funny that happened to you, funny or embarrassing?
Ooh, funny or embarrassing. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on all of these. I don't have, okay, actually there was a pretty embarrassing moment for myself. I work for my family's business. I'm a client success manager for talent development. I work with a lot of people on like creating different projects and stuff like that. So I had this very like consultant brain happening. And we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and there was this waiter, and he was so awesome. He was communicating to us like, okay, your wings are going to be out in like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Like, okay, they're about to be out. Like, oh, we hit a snag, but like, we're going to do this instead. And I was like, it was just being so great. He was being so communicative. And so then when we were leaving, I don't know why, but for some reason, my brain just blurted out something to the effect of like, wow, thank you so much. It was really great collaborating with you on this project. And my husband, he's like, what? Why did you say that? You made it sound so corporate-y. And I'm like, I don't know. I was just really grateful. He was so communicative about the deadlines and the challenges. And I don't know why I said it like that. And so sometimes I have little weird moments like that.
Well, that's how your brain processed it, the deadlines and the challenges. We're collaborating on this dinner.
That's how I felt like we were collaborating on this dining experience. And overall, it was a great time. I would love to work with him again. So.
Are you loving the First Class Life Show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/firstclasslife. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/firstclasslife.
See you on Monday. Yes. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
Ooh, I love traveling to Italy. because I love the history. I am Catholic, and I am very interested about the duality of our history that is there. But it's just so interesting to go and see the murals and the artifacts, and just being able to go to a place where it's like, there's just so much history there. As well as the food's incredible. I love pasta. I'd eat pasta every day if I could, and I can, so I want to, but Yvonne says we have to have greens and stuff in our diet. And like the Tuscan countryside is so beautiful as well. Like being able, and then they have such like a wonderful, relaxed way of living. Like in the US, it's very, you work to live, you live to work, and it's all about, chasing the deadlines and running the corporate ladder and blah, blah, blah. And I just saw on TikTok this wonderful story of this man who moved to Italy to start up an Airbnb, and and it's taken him 4 years to renovate this beautiful home into something that for like the Airbnb of his dreams. And in America, like that business would seem as a failure, and they would say, get out. Like, what are you doing? You're wasting money. 4 years hasn't turned a profit. That's lame. But for him, it's not about that. It's about this joy of creating something that's going to have this beautiful shared experience with other people. And I love that so much. So
yeah. What specific place in Italy?
I really love Rome specifically. It's wild in Rome. Like people just walk where they want. The scooters go wherever. Like it's super fun. I love being able to see like the fashion as well. But then, like I said, just like right outside, like, going over to Tuscany, it's just this beautiful countryside as well. So that's probably one of my favorite places.
Nice. Okay, so how about this one? What is your favorite activity to do to relax? Go.
To relax. I love hiking. I know that like kind of goes counterintuitive because like, oh, you're relaxing. Technically, you're exercising. There's just something being able, even just like walking on a nature path, being an empath and being someone who's very energetically sensitive, I have been able to get into this practice where as I'm walking through, I start to become very aware of the energetic shield that I do keep up. So I'm not just taking in everybody's sticky energy and whatnot. But when I'm walking in nature, I'm able to be aware of that shield, and I'm able to like let it all down, and then just really be able to feel nature and like the earth, like really penetrate through my energetic field and really hold me. And it is the most rejuvenating and like comforting and sweet type energy I have ever experienced. And it's just like, and like, I think they call like earthing and like nature, like bathing, and it's a real thing. And it's so helpful in managing my own anxiety and stress, and also getting a very clear, I get a lot of clarity on what's actually important to me, or what's actually the problem, what is actually holding me back. So I gain a lot of clarity when I'm able to do that as well, which I think is part of rest, is being able to come back to self.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And then just getting that fresh air.
Yes, exactly.
Something about fresh, crisp air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last one. I was wrong about the joke part, but I'm thinking that you might have one of these. What is your favorite like catchphrase or saying? Go.
Ooh, trust your magic.
See? I knew it. I missed the first one, but I got that one.
That is actually one that I made for myself. And back in 2020, I actually lost my job, and I had a huge health scare that put me flat on my back. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't drive. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I couldn't without assistance. Like I needed help. Like I couldn't move for like 2 months right after losing my job. And so there was this huge moment where I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like the universe and I are buddies, and I feel like I just got massively dumped on. Like what the heck? And I was reading a book called "You Are a Badass" by Jen something. But the book was so helpful in reminding me. Yeah, the book was so helpful in reminding me. It's like, yes, the universe has my back still, and like, yes, we co-create, but also like, I need to trust in my magic more. I need to leaning into my magic is very much everything that has kind of I built Golden Bee with. It's just like, what's the most me thing possible? It's like, okay, turn that into your passion, turn that into your purpose, where you turn your passion and make it something that you can serve to your community. And so that phrase of trust your magic, that you got this, that you can handle whatever is brought to you by being the most you possible, that has gotten me through so many things since then. But yes.
Nice. Well, you only missed one buzzer.
Woo!
So, listen, you guys, we only have to tidy up one thing. But if you're feeling funky, then, just keep it going. Tidy up 2 or 3 or 4. But thank you for playing our First Class Favorites game, because now you are joining an elite group of people. So make sure that you join our private Patreon community so that you can have access to our First Class Favorite Things list. It has our reading list, our song playlist, our favorite places to travel, and because we prioritize self-care on this show, all of our favorite activities to do to relax. So if you need some fresh ideas, you can head to that First Class Favorite Things list, and it's uniquely curated by all of our phenomenal guests.
That's such a good resource.
Yes, and you are now an author of it. Hey. So make sure, again, you join our private Patreon community by clicking the link in the show notes. And it also has lots of bonus gems, bonus videos from our guests where they're giving you some additional knowledge and other resources. So tune in over there, click the link. Meanwhile, let's get back into this discussion. So if you are new to the First Class family, it's your first time tuning in, then you are likely unaware that First Class Life is actually an acronym that stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that we want to embody into our lifestyle to be able to create a first-class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And if you want to know what that acronym stands for, then there's one of 2 things that you can do. Either you can go and listen to the very first episode of the First Class Life Show where I break each of the acronyms down. Or you could head to firstclasslifeshop.com and buy the book, First Class Life, 10 Key Factors to Creating a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness. Meanwhile, we are going to ask the beautiful, beautiful Bri, which key factor of First Class Life do you resonate with the most?
That is a great question. There's a lot of really awesome ones to choose here from. So just choosing one is such a task in and of itself. But I would probably say I would choose faithful first. And that's because I would say that's probably the one that I have had the longest and closest relationship from the very beginning. Ever since, my mom passed, and then also I had open heart surgery in high school and whatnot. I've hit many, many moments in my life where I'm like, what is the point of this? Why is this happening to me? How am I going to move on and keep going? And a lot of what got me through those big moments was having faith in myself, faith in something higher, faith in, the love that others had for me, and that the love that just kind of like shows up from community, and just being able to really lean into having faith that this all will work out. This all has a purpose, and that I have a purpose in being able to, live and find that happiness and find that joy and not letting my circumstances rob that of me. I have faith that I'm strong enough to do that. And I have faith that by me being able to do that, it's going to help serve others as well. So I would say faith is the first one that has just been with me the longest.
Yes, we love it. It's definitely important to be faithful in all of its different aspects. So tell us, how do you impact the world as a leader today?
Yeah, so I have started my own business called Golden Bee by Bri, and I am an energy coach. And what that means is I help, especially women, being able to navigate the internal and external energies. So we work a lot with like mindset, growth mindset, subconscious behaviors, habit hacking, and then also just the being able to navigate both like the masculine and feminine side of both business and in living life. So right now I currently have this very exciting program called the Power Hour. And that is where I get to meet with a client. And for 1 hour, we do a massive deep dive where we identify one limiting belief that is holding them back. And then we create a game plan on how to reprogram their subconscious to not only release that limiting belief, but then also to start building the habits and behaviors that will support their ideal reality, to really make that shift happen in like an expedited amount of time. So
nice. And we will have the link to where you can book your very own power hour right in the show notes. So you can just click, schedule your session, and figure out all of that that's going on. So let us know, how can we reach you on these internet streets? Where can we find you?
Yeah, well, so my most popular one is my Instagram, and that is just like at Golden Bee by Bri. And then I also have a website, which is goldenbeebybri.com. There's a theme here, obviously. And those are my major two right now.
Okay, and that's Golden Bee, GOLDEN BEE.
Like the bumblebee.
BY Bri, BRI.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so very last question. What is some final advice that you can share with us on how we can create our first class lives full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness?
I'm only going to do one advice, which is hard. I'm full of advice. Mine would be, don't let go and having it all figured out. Let go of the need to have it all figured out, and let go of the need of having to be completely in control and having it perfect. Because this is truly, you are co-creating with the universe. And if you are holding on so tightly to how things have to happen, then it doesn't give a lot of creative, artistic liberty to the universe to show up in very surprising and different ways, in ways that, are actually way easier and way faster that you never would have imagined. So just take the first step. You only need to know where you're stepping next. You don't need to know all 10 steps at the end of the road. And remember to allow space for the universe to show up and surprise you.
Nice. Thank you for being a phenomenal guest and dropping all the gems that you've dropped with us today. And thank you, First Class family, for tuning in for this past hour. Again, we know you could be doing anything in the world, but you have shared your time with us, and we truly, truly appreciate you for that. So make sure you tune in every week as we drop a new episode of the First Class Life Show, and helping you to maximize your impact while creating your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, because you absolutely deserve it, and so much more. Bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.